The massive crystalline chamber hummed with nervous energy as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Zix Thara of the Valonian Empire adjusted her translator device, still struggling to believe the reports flooding in from the Outer Rim territories. The holographic displays around the circular chamber showed tactical readouts, fleet positions, and casualty reports that defied all logic. At the center of the chamber, General Korthak of the Drakmarian hegemony stood with his forearms crossed, his scaled hide showing the deep purple hue that indicated extreme agitation among his species. The general had requested this emergency council meeting, and everyone present knew why. His invasion fleet, consisting of over 2,000 warships and 500,000 elite soldiers, had attempted to conquer a small blue planet in what the locals called the Sol System. The attempt had been a complete disaster. "Honored council members," General Korthak began, his voice carrying the weight of defeat, "I stand before you today to report on what can only be described as the most catastrophic military failure in recorded galactic history. 3 solar cycles ago, my forces engaged the inhabitants of the third planet in the Sol System, a planet the locals call Earth." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Cosmic Council had been monitoring various species across the galaxy for millennia, cataloging their technological development and military capabilities. Earth had been classified as a Level 2 civilization, barely capable of interplanetary travel, let alone posing any threat to an advanced military force. Counselor Vrath, the ancient leader of the council, leaned forward in his floating chair. His species had evolved past the need for physical locomotion centuries ago, their minds having grown so large that their bodies could no longer support them. "General Korthak, our records indicate that the humans possess primitive projectile weapons and basic nuclear technology. Surely your advanced plasma weaponry and energy shields proved superior." Korthak's mandibles clicked together in what his species considered a bitter laugh. "Honored Counselor, that was our assumption as well. Our intelligence reports suggested that humans were fragmented into numerous tribal nations, constantly warring among themselves over resources and ideology. We believed they would be incapable of mounting any unified resistance." The general activated a holographic display showing the initial stages of the invasion. Sleek Drakmarian vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere, their energy weapons charging to eliminate what they assumed would be scattered pockets of resistance. The first indication that something was wrong came when our advanced scouts reported unusual activity across the planet's surface. Instead of panic and chaos, we observed rapid mobilization on a scale that our xenobiologists claimed was impossible for their species. Within hours of our arrival, every major population center had activated defensive measures we hadn't detected from orbit. Ambassador Zix Thara interrupted, her tentacles writhing with curiosity. "What kind of defensive measures could a Level 2 civilization possibly possess that your sensors couldn't detect?" Korthak's expression darkened. "That's when we learned our first lesson about humans, Ambassador. They don't just prepare for war against each other. They prepare for war against anything that might threaten them, including threats they've never encountered before. What we initially dismissed as entertainment media turned out to be extensive theoretical planning for extraterrestrial invasion scenarios." The hologram shifted to show human military installations rising from what had appeared to be civilian areas. Underground bunkers revealed themselves, bristling with weapons that seemed primitive by galactic standards, but were deployed with a tactical sophistication that caught the Drakmarian forces completely off guard. "Our energy shields were designed to deflect plasma-based weapons and particle beams," Korthak continued. "They were not designed to handle the sheer kinetic force of what humans call rail guns, firing dense metal projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, nor were they prepared for the psychological impact of what humans term nuclear artillery." Counselor Vrath's massive brain pulsed with concern. "Surely your superior numbers and space-based support provided an advantage." That brings me to our second lesson about humans, Korthak replied, his voice growing quieter. They don't just fight with weapons. They fight with ideas. Within the first day of combat, human communication networks were broadcasting detailed tactical information about our ships, our weapons, and our weaknesses to every corner of their planet. Information that they were somehow acquiring faster than we could adapt our strategies. The hologram now showed human resistance fighters in urban environments, using guerrilla tactics that seemed to anticipate Drakmarian movements before they occurred. Civilians were providing real-time intelligence, technical support, and logistical coordination on a scale that military analysts had deemed impossible for their species' supposed level of development. How were they obtaining this tactical information? Asked Counselor Thias, the insectoid representative whose species prided itself on collective intelligence. Did they possess scanning technology superior to ours? Korthak's laugh was bitter. No, Counselor. They possessed something far more dangerous. They possessed imagination combined with obsessive attention to detail. For decades before our arrival, human scientists, engineers, and even their entertainment creators had been theorizing about potential alien invasion scenarios. They had run countless simulations, developed contingency plans, and created technological solutions for problems they had never actually encountered. The display showed human engineers rapidly modifying civilian technology for military purposes. Commercial satellites became targeting systems, civilian aircraft became weapons platforms, and their global communication network became a coordination system more effective than anything in the Drakmarian military arsenal. When we deployed our standard electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable their technology, they simply switched to backup systems running on different principles. When we attempted to jam their communications, they used quantum entanglement devices that shouldn't have existed in a Level 2 civilization. When we targeted their leadership, we discovered that their entire population had been trained to operate without centralized command. Ambassador Zixathera's tentacles had gone rigid with shock. General, are you suggesting that this species had prepared for interstellar warfare while still being confined to a single planetary system? I'm not suggesting it, Ambassador. I'm stating it as fact. And that preparation was more thorough than anything we encounter among species that have been engaged in galactic warfare for millennia. The hologram shifted to show the final phase of the battle. Drakmarian forces, designed for quick conquest of technologically inferior civilizations, found themselves engaged in prolonged combat against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger and more coordinated as the battle progressed. The turning point came when human forces began capturing our equipment and reverse engineering it in real time, not over months or years, but within hours of acquisition. Their scientists were somehow able to understand and replicate technology that had taken our civilization centuries to develop. Counselor Vrath's brain pulsed rapidly, a sign of deep concern among his species. That level of technological adaptation should be impossible. Apparently, no one informed the humans of that impossibility, Korthak replied. By the end of the second day, they were using modified versions of our own weapons against us. By the third day, they had improved upon our designs. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Cosmic Council had spent millennia cataloging and monitoring developing civilizations, confident in their ability to predict technological and military capabilities. The human resistance to the Drakmarian invasion suggested that their classification systems were fundamentally flawed. General, Counselor Vrath said slowly, what was your final casualty count? Korthak's shoulders sagged. 87% of my invasion force, nearly 1,800 ships destroyed or captured, over 400,000 casualties, and that was against a species that didn't even have faster-than-light travel capability. The silence stretched on as council members absorbed this information. Finally, Ambassador Zixathera spoke. General, in your professional military assessment, what classification level should we assign to Earth's human population? Korthak looked directly at each council member before answering. Honored Council, based on their demonstrated capabilities, tactical adaptability, and sheer determination to survive, I recommend immediate classification as a Level 9 civilization with a strong advisory against any further military engagement. The number sent shockwaves through the chamber. Level 9 classification was reserved for species with advanced interstellar capabilities and proven track records of successful galactic warfare. No species in recorded history had ever jumped from Level 2 to Level 9 based on a single military engagement. Furthermore, Korthak continued, I recommend that the Council consider opening diplomatic channels with Earth immediately. Not as a superior civilization offering 3 standard galactic months had passed since General Korthak's devastating report, and the Cosmic Council chambers buzzed with heated debates that showed no signs of resolution. The recommendation to reclassify Earth as a Level 9 civilization had created unprecedented divisions among the member species, with some calling for immediate military action, while others advocated for cautious diplomacy. Ambassador Zixathara found herself reviewing intelligence reports that grew more disturbing each day. Earth's human population hadn't simply returned to their pre-invasion activities after repelling the Drakmarian forces. Instead, they had launched what could only be described as the most aggressive technological development program in recorded galactic history. The situation has evolved significantly since our last session, announced Councillor Vrath as the council reconvened. His massive brain showed the deep blue coloration that indicated serious concern among his species. Our monitoring stations have detected unprecedented activity throughout the Sol system. The chamber's holographic displays activated, showing real-time feeds from the outer rim of human space. What council members saw defied every prediction their xenobiologists had made about human post-conflict behavior. In the 97 days since the failed invasion, Councillor Vrath continued, human industrial output has increased by approximately 400%. They have constructed 16 new orbital facilities, launched over 300 deep space monitoring satellites, and established what appears to be a permanent military presence throughout their system. Commander Thresh of the Korvaxian Defense Force, a species known for their strategic thinking, leaned forward with interest. Counselor, are you suggesting that humans have achieved system-wide military dominance in less than 100 days? That timeline seems impossible for any species. Commander Thresh, what we're observing goes far beyond simple military expansion. The humans have fundamentally altered their entire civilization's structure in response to the threat of invasion. The holographic display zoomed in on Earth's surface, revealing massive construction projects spanning entire continents. What had once been separate nations now operated as a unified planetary government, pooling resources and expertise with an efficiency that left galactic economists struggling to understand how such rapid integration was possible. Admiral Korex of the Zenthari fleet spoke up, her crystalline form shimmering with skepticism. Our intelligence indicates that humans were engaged in constant territorial conflicts before the invasion. How did they achieve planetary unification so quickly? Ambassador Zixathara had been studying this phenomenon extensively. Admiral, that's perhaps the most remarkable aspect of human psychology we've discovered. When faced with an external threat to their species, they possess an almost supernatural ability to suppress internal conflicts and focus collective effort on survival. The display shifted to show human space installations. Massive shipyards orbited their planet, constructing vessels that bore little resemblance to anything in existing galactic databases. The ships were angular and aggressive-looking, bristling with weapon systems that seemed to combine human kinetic technology with salvaged alien equipment. The humans have been reverse-engineering captured Drakmarian technology, continued Zixathara. But they're not simply copying our designs, they're improving them. Our xenoengineering specialists estimate that human-modified Drakmarian weapon systems are operating at approximately 130% of original efficiency. General Korthak, who had been silent during the session, finally spoke. Honored Council, the humans didn't just defeat my invasion force. They studied it. Every captured ship, every piece of equipment, every tactical maneuver was analyzed and cataloged. They've learned more about galactic military technology in 3 months than most species learn in centuries. Commander Thresh's tactical implants flickered as he processed this information. General, are you suggesting that humans have developed effective countermeasures for galactic standard military equipment? I'm suggesting something far more concerning, Commander. They've developed improvements for galactic standard military equipment. The weapon systems we're seeing in their new ship designs are superior to anything currently deployed by Council members. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. The possibility that a newly contacted species could achieve technological superiority over established galactic civilizations within months of first contact was unthinkable. Councillor Vrath called for order. This brings us to the primary concern that prompted today's session. Our long-range sensors have detected human vessels approaching the edge of their solar system. They appear to be conducting systematic surveys of nearby star systems. The implication hung heavy in the air. Humanity wasn't content to simply defend their home system. They were preparing for expansion. Furthermore, Vrath continued, our monitoring stations have intercepted human communications, suggesting that they view the failed invasion as proof that hostile forces exist throughout the galaxy. They are operating under the assumption that future attacks are inevitable, and they are preparing accordingly. Admiral Korex's crystalline form darkened with concern. Counselor, are you suggesting that humans are preparing for offensive operations against galactic civilizations? We cannot determine their ultimate intentions, Admiral. What we can confirm is that they are developing capabilities that would make such operations feasible. The holographic display showed detailed scans of human ship designs. The vessels incorporated design elements from multiple galactic civilizations, suggesting that humans had somehow gained access to technical information beyond what they could have obtained from the Drakmarian invasion force alone. Ambassador Zixathara had been investigating this mystery for weeks. Council members, I believe we have underestimated human intelligence gathering capabilities. Analysis of their communication networks suggests they have been monitoring galactic transmissions for decades before first contact. They may know more about our civilizations than we know about theirs. The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. The possibility that humans had been secretly studying galactic civilizations while themselves remaining undetected suggested a level of technological sophistication that contradicted every assumption about their development level. General Korthak stood to address the council. Honored members, I have spent the past 3 months analyzing every aspect of the human resistance. I have reached conclusions that I believe are crucial for the council's decision-making process. Proceed, General, Vrath replied. First, human military doctrine is fundamentally different from anything we've encountered. They don't simply prepare to defend against known threats. They prepare to defend against every possible threat they can imagine. Their strategic planning incorporates scenarios that our own military analysts would dismiss as impossible. The hologram showed human defensive installations that seemed designed to counter attack methods that no known galactic civilization had ever employed. Second, human technological development doesn't follow the gradual progression we observe in other species. When faced with a challenge, they achieve breakthrough innovations in time frames that our scientists claim should be impossible. They don't just adapt to new technologies, they revolutionize them. Third, and most importantly, humans don't view warfare as a means of conquest or territorial expansion. They view it as a means of species survival. This makes them exponentially more dangerous than any civilization we've previously encountered, because they will commit resources and accept casualties that no rational species would consider acceptable. Commander Thresh's tactical implants were now flashing rapidly. General, in your professional opinion, what would be the likely outcome of a coordinated military action by multiple Council civilizations against Earth? Korthak was silent for a long moment before responding. Commander, based on human demonstrated capabilities and their rate of technological advancement, I believe such an action would result in the complete destruction of any attacking force, followed by human retaliation against the homeworlds of participating civilizations. The chamber fell silent as this assessment sank in. The species that had dominated galactic affairs for millennia were facing the possibility that a single planet's population could pose an existential threat to their continued dominance. There is one additional factor the Council must consider, Korthak continued. Human population growth and resource utilization patterns suggest they are preparing for large-scale colonization efforts. If they achieve faster-than-light travel capability, which our analysts believe is inevitable given their current research trajectory, they will likely expand throughout the galaxy at an unprecedented rate. Counselor Vrath's brain pulsed with deep concern. General, what is your recommendation for Council policy regarding Earth? Honored Counselor, I recommend immediate diplomatic contact with the explicit goal of establishing peaceful relations. Not because we desire human cooperation, but because we cannot afford human hostility. As the session continued, each council member grappled with the reality that the galaxy's balance of power was shifting in ways they had never anticipated. The humans of Earth had proven that military strength, technological innovation, and strategic thinking could emerge from unexpected sources, and the established galactic order would never be the same. The decision facing the Council was no longer whether to engage with humanity, but whether they could afford not to. Guidance to a primitive one, but as equals seeking to establish peaceful relations with a species that has demonstrated military capabilities far exceeding their apparent technological development. As the implications of this recommendation settled over the chamber, each council member began to realize that the galaxy had just become a much more interesting and potentially dangerous place. The humans of Earth had proven that military strength could not be measured purely by technological advancement, and that perhaps the Council's understanding of warfare itself was about to undergo a fundamental change. The emergency session was far from over, but already it was clear that the galaxy's approach to Earth would never be the same again. 6 standard galactic months after the first emergency session, the Cosmic Council chambers had been transformed into something resembling a war room more than a diplomatic forum. Multiple holographic displays showed real-time tracking of human vessels that had now spread across 17 different star systems, each expedition methodically cataloging resources, establishing monitoring stations, and sending detailed reports back to Earth. Ambassador Zixathera stood at the center of the chamber, her tentacles moving in agitated patterns as she delivered what would become known as the most consequential intelligence briefing in galactic history. The information she was about to share would fundamentally alter how every species in the galaxy viewed both humanity and their own security. Honored Council members, she began, her translator device struggling to convey the gravity in her voice. The situation regarding Earth's human population has evolved far beyond our most extreme projections. What we are witnessing is not merely rapid technological development or aggressive expansion. We are observing the emergence of a galactic superpower. Counselor Vrath's massive brain had turned the deep crimson color that indicated maximum alertness among his species. Ambassador Zixathera, please present your findings. The central holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of local galactic space. Blue dots marked established Council member civilizations, their territories clearly defined and stable. Green dots showed newly detected human presence, and the pattern they formed sent immediate alarm through every representative present. In the 183 days since humans achieved faster-than-light travel, Zixthera continued, they have established permanent outposts in 17 star systems. However, our analysis indicates that these are not random exploration missions. Humans are implementing a coordinated galactic strategy that demonstrates understanding of our civilization's territories, resources, and strategic weaknesses. Commander Thresh of the Korvaxian Defense Force activated his tactical implants, and the data they provided caused his species' characteristic military composure to crack noticeably. Ambassador, are you suggesting that humans have developed accurate intelligence about Council civilization's strategic positions? Commander, I'm stating that humans possess intelligence about our civilizations that rivals what we know about each other. Furthermore, they are positioning themselves to control critical galactic trade routes and resource nodes with a precision that suggests decades of strategic planning. The hologram zoomed in on specific human outposts. Each installation was positioned at what military analysts recognized as optimal strategic points for monitoring, intercepting, or controlling interstellar traffic. The implications were clear and terrifying. General Korthak, whose military reputation had been rebuilt through his accurate assessments of human capabilities, provided additional context. Honored Council, human expansion patterns indicate they are not seeking empty territory for colonization. They are securing positions that would allow them to influence or control galactic commerce and communication. Admiral Korex's crystalline form flickered with patterns of deep concern. General, are you suggesting that humans are attempting to establish dominance over existing galactic infrastructure? Admiral, I'm suggesting that humans are succeeding in establishing dominance over galactic infrastructure. Our shipping lanes, communication networks, and trade routes are all now subject to human monitoring and potential interdiction. The display shifted to show intercepted human communications, translated through algorithms that had taken the Council's best linguists months to develop. The conversations revealed a level of knowledge about galactic politics that was impossible for any species to have acquired through normal diplomatic channels. These communications indicate that humans have been monitoring our civilization's activities for significantly longer than we initially believed, Zixthera explained. References to events and policies suggest they have been conducting intelligence operations for potentially decades before the Drakmarian invasion. Counselor Vrath's brain pulsed rapidly as he processed this information. Ambassador, are you suggesting that humans had already identified us as potential threats before General Korthak's invasion force arrived at Earth? Counselor, the evidence suggests that humans had identified every major galactic civilization as a potential threat and had begun developing countermeasures accordingly. The Drakmarian invasion simply accelerated their timeline. A new voice joined the discussion. Counselor Thais, the insectoid representative whose species prided itself on collective intelligence analysis, had been silent during previous sessions while conducting detailed studies of human behavior patterns. Council members, my analysis of human expansion patterns reveals something that may be even more concerning than their strategic positioning. Humans are not simply replicating existing galactic technologies. They are developing entirely new technological paradigms. The hologram displayed technical readouts from human installations that looked unlike anything in existing galactic databases. The technology seemed to operate on principles that established science claimed were impossible or impractical. Counselor Thais, Admiral Korex inquired, what exactly are humans developing that differs from established galactic technology? Admiral, humans appear to have solved several technological challenges that our civilizations abandoned centuries ago as impossible. They have developed practical faster-than-light communication, matter transportation systems that operate without massive energy requirements, and defensive technologies that seem to violate fundamental physical laws. The chamber erupted in alarmed discussion. The technologies Thais described would provide whoever possessed them with insurmountable advantages in both commerce and warfare. General Korthak called for attention. Honorable Council, there is additional information that explains how humans are achieving these technological advances. Our intelligence indicates that they have established contact with several non-council civilizations that we had classified as extinct or unreachable. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. The Council had spent millennia cataloging galactic civilizations, confident in their comprehensive understanding of who existed and where. The possibility that humans had successfully contacted species the Council couldn't reach suggested that human diplomatic and exploration capabilities far exceeded anything previously estimated. Furthermore, Korthak continued, intercepted communications suggest that these non-council civilizations are actively sharing advanced technologies with humans in exchange for protection against council expansion policies. Councillor Vrath's brain had shifted to a color that none of the assembled representatives had ever seen before. General, are you suggesting that humans are forming a competing galactic alliance? Honored Councillor, the evidence suggests that humans are forming a galactic alliance that may be more advanced and better coordinated than the Council itself. Ambassador Zix Thara activated additional displays showing human diplomatic activities. Council members, we have confirmed contact between humans and no fewer than 12 civilizations that we believed were either extinct, unreachable, or too primitive for meaningful interaction. In each case, humans have established formal diplomatic relations and technology-sharing agreements. The strategic implications were staggering. Humans had not only demonstrated superior military capabilities against individual council civilizations, they were potentially organizing a coalition that could challenge the council's galactic dominance. There is one final matter that the council must consider, Zixathara announced. Yesterday we received this communication from Earth's United Planetary Government. The chamber's communication systems activated, and a human voice filled the space. The translation was clear and carried an unmistakable tone of confident authority. To the representatives of the Cosmic Council, this is President Chen of the United Earth Government. We are aware of your ongoing discussions regarding our planet and our activities. We formally request an immediate cessation of surveillance operations in human space and the establishment of diplomatic relations between our governments as equals. The message continued. We have no desire for conflict with council civilizations, but we will not accept continued treatment as a primitive species subject to monitoring and potential conquest. We propose a summit meeting to establish formal diplomatic protocols and discuss mutual interests. However, be advised that we consider any further military action against human territory or human allies to be an act of war, and we are prepared to respond accordingly. We hope for peaceful relations, but we are prepared for any alternative. The communication ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Humanity had essentially issued an ultimatum to the most powerful political organization in the galaxy, demanding recognition as equals while simultaneously threatening retaliation for any hostile action. General Korthak stood to address the council one final time. Honored council members, after 6 months of analysis, I can state with absolute certainty that humanity represents the most significant shift in galactic power dynamics in recorded history. They possess superior military technology, advanced diplomatic capabilities, and strategic thinking that exceeds our own. More importantly, they have demonstrated that they can achieve in months what takes other civilizations centuries to accomplish. They are not bound by the limitations we assumed govern technological and social development. My recommendation is immediate and unconditional acceptance of their proposal for diplomatic relations, not because it serves our interests, but because the alternative is a conflict we cannot win against an enemy we cannot predict. As the council session concluded, each representative faced the reality that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity had not simply defended their world against invasion, they had leveraged that invasion into galactic prominence. The species that had seemed primitive and fragmented 6 months earlier had become the most influential power in known space. The Council would accept humanity's diplomatic proposal, but they would do so from a position of weakness rather than strength. For the first time in galactic history, the established order was preparing to negotiate with a species that could dictate terms rather than accept them. Earth's human population had proven that military conquest was not the only path to galactic dominance. Sometimes, all it took was refusing to be conquered and being prepared to prove that refusal repeatedly to anyone who tested their resolve. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.